I had been planning my baby shower for months. Not the kind of elaborate Pinterest perfect event that people post online, but something intimate, a small circle of family, close friends, and warmth. I pictured the soft pastel decorations, the gentle hum of conversation, and the quiet pride of watching my loved ones celebrate this new chapter in my life. Every detail had been carefully considered. The invitations, the food, the little games, and every night I imagined the sound of laughter filling the room. I called my parents several times, casually at first, then more persistently as the date approached. "We're swamped with bills. Busy right now," they would say. "Maybe another time." I remember the first time I heard it, trying to smile through the phone, telling myself it was understandable. Life had obligations. Everyone had stress. But the hollow echo of those words lingered in my mind. I tried to convince myself that it wasn't hurtful, that their absence was simply logistical. I decorated the room alone, arranging balloons and streamers, and yet the excitement I had imagined never fully arrived. There was an emptiness at the edges of the celebration, a quiet, insistent voice whispering that family, the people I had always counted on, were deliberately absent. I told myself not to dwell on it. I focused on the friends who came, the small joys of their company, the gifts they brought, the smiles and laughter that felt genuine. But even as I smiled and thanked them, a part of me recoiled, replaying the conversations I had had with my parents, the repeated excuses that now felt painfully transparent. 3 days later, that quiet disbelief became sharp, almost tangible. I was scrolling through social media when I froze. My sister had posted a picture that made my stomach twist. There she was, grinning widely beside a brand new car gleaming under the sunlight. The caption made it worse. "Unlimited love to our parents for this amazing upgrade." I stared at it, the words echoing in my mind. Their earlier justifications, Bill's busy schedules, collapsed under the weight of this display. Every tiny memory of subtle favoritism, of moments when I had been overlooked or quietly dismissed, now combined into a heavy clarity. I had not been imagining it. The disparity was real. I did not respond immediately. I did not storm over or write a snide comment. I sat in silence, letting the mix of hurt and incredulity wash over me. I thought back to other times when my contributions, my presence, my achievements had been minimized while my sisters were celebrated. Birthdays, holidays, family milestones, always a tilt, always a subtle signaling of preference. After the initial sting, I began to plan. Not a dramatic retaliation, not a public airing of grievances, but a measured assertion of my agency. I drafted a message to my parents. It was concise, factual, and controlled. I highlighted my disappointment, detailed the effort I had put into my own celebration, and made clear that the oversight had not gone unnoticed. I wrote with clarity, choosing words that left no room for misunderstanding but carried no venom. Sending the message was its own act of empowerment. I did not expect apologies. I did not expect grand acknowledgments. I expected attention and awareness. I waited quietly, observing the space I had shifted without theatrics, and that waiting became its own lesson in restraint and patience. The following day, my phone rang. It was my parents. Their voices carried an unmistakable mix of surprise and awareness. For the first time, they spoke to me not as the quiet, sidelined child who could be discounted without consequence, but as someone whose feelings demanded acknowledgement. They did not offer dramatic apologies. They did not admit favoritism. But the tone was different, unmistakably so. There was a pause where they recognized my agency, a subtle recalibration of their perception of me. My sister noticed too. Her social media posts grew quieter, less performative, and I didn't need to confront her. The external world had already shifted. The acknowledgement had been visible, undeniable. Sitting in my quiet apartment later, I reflected on the progression. I did not feel triumphant in the way someone does after a heated argument or a vindictive act. My satisfaction was calm, restrained. It was the relief of seeing that effort and presence could not be ignored. That careful, deliberate action could carry weight, even in a family dynamic prone to oversight and favoritism. The experience also left space for introspection. I thought about the subtle ways family dynamics shape self-perception, how repeated dismissal or preference can quietly erode confidence, how one can be silenced not by words, but by absence. And I realized that my response, measured and composed, was a reclaiming of dignity rather than a punitive act. I recalled the quiet mornings when my sister would receive praise for minor accomplishments, the evenings when my parents would attend to her needs first, the small gestures that accumulated into an unspoken hierarchy. I had carried resentment in silence for years, carefully masking it, convincing myself it did not matter. And yet, when the right moment arrived, I could assert myself with subtle precision, without spectacle. The shift in perception was almost imperceptible to the casual observer. To me, it was monumental. My parents began to consult me on decisions, asking for my input in ways they had not before. My sister, previously so assured of her dominance in family attention, found her performative gestures met with calm observation rather than uncritical celebration. The balance was not perfect, but it was changed. I spent hours reflecting on the contrast, the excitement of planning, the hollow absence of expected support, the sharp sting of betrayal, and the quiet, deliberate reclamation of agency. It became clear that victories need not be loud to be profound. They can exist in moments of recognition, in the subtle shifts that make future interactions more equitable, in the awareness that one's voice, even after long silence, can finally be heard. There were still unresolved feelings. I still carried a trace of hurt, a lingering bitterness that would not vanish overnight. The family remained imperfect. Relationships were complicated, layered, and messy. But within that complexity, I had carved a space where my presence mattered, where my contributions could not be discounted, and where my dignity remained intact. Sometimes the smallest actions, controlled, deliberate, thoughtful, carry the heaviest weight. Sometimes quiet acknowledgement is the most profound victory. I had not shouted, I had not demanded, I had not schemed. I had acted with awareness, patience, and precision, and in that I had won. Sitting back, feeling the quiet shift ripple through my family's attention awareness, I realized that self-respect and assertion often arrive in subtle, nearly invisible forms. The calm power of deliberate action can change dynamics without drama. The recognition, once secured, is lasting. And in that stillness, I felt both vindicated and strangely free, carrying the knowledge that even in flawed families, one can stand firm quietly and be seen.